Alaska is not just a state, it is a primordial entity. 1,000,000 square miles of unforgiving tundra, jagged peaks, and forests so dense they haven't seen human footsteps since the last ice age. But within this vast wilderness lies a boundary, a geographical scar that stretches from Juneau in the southeast to Anchorage and up to Barrow on the northern coast. They call it the Alaska Triangle. Since 1972, more than 20,000 people have vanished within this perimeter. To put that into perspective, that is twice the national average of the entire United States. If you go missing here, the odds are not just against you, they are non-existent. Most are never found. No bodies, no wreckage, no closure. In the lower 48, when someone disappears, there is a trail, a footprint, a scent, a digital breadcrumb. But in the triangle, the laws of physics and logic seem to dissolve. Search and rescue pilots report compasses spinning wildly. GPS systems go dark. And the silence? The silence in the Alaska Triangle is heavy. It's the kind of silence that feels like it's listening to you. Tonight we step into the void. We look past the pine trees and the permafrost to ask the question the authorities refuse to answer. Where did they go? And more importantly, what took them? The mystery of the triangle didn't just capture the public's imagination. It forced the United States government to its knees in October 1972. A twin-engine Cessna 310 was carrying two of the most powerful men in the country. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs and Alaska Congressman Nick Begich. They weren't tourists. They were seasoned professionals, flying with an expert pilot in a route they had traveled dozens of times. Somewhere between Anchorage and Juneau, the plane simply blinked out of existence. The response was the largest search and rescue operation in American history. 40 military aircraft, 50 civilian planes. For 39 days, they scoured every square inch of the flight path. They used thermal imaging, elite trackers, and the full might of the U.S. Coast Guard. They found nothing, not a scrap of metal, not a fuel slick on the water, not a single emergency ping. It was as if the sky had opened up and swallowed the aircraft whole. In the years that followed, conspiracy theories emerged. Was it a political assassination? Or did they fly into something that shouldn't exist? To this day, the Boggs-Begich disappearance remains the ultimate cold case of the North. But they were just the beginning. In Alaska, the higher you fly, the closer you are to the edge of the world. And sometimes the world ends sooner than you think. If you ask the modern authorities, they will talk about glaciers and hidden crevasses, but if you sit with the Tlingit and Haida elders, they will tell you a different story. They will tell you about the Kushtaka, the land otter man. In Western folklore, otters are playful. In the Alaska Triangle, they are the harbingers of a living nightmare. The Kushtaka is a shapeshifter, a creature that lives in the liminal space between the water and the woods. Legend says they wait for hikers who are tired, cold, and lost. They don't attack with claws, they attack with deception. They mimic the cries of a lost child. They take the form of a trusted friend standing just past the tree line, waving you over. Once you follow them into the deep brush, you are no longer in our world. They steal your soul, turning you into one of them, condemned to wander the frozen marshes forever. Skeptics call it a myth, But consider this. Many of the missing 411 cases in Alaska involve people who were seen one moment and then vanished the next, often leaving their belongings in a neat pile. No struggle, no blood. Just a sudden, inexplicable departure from reality. Are the F-sayings of the indigenous people just stories? Or are they survival guides for a region that is occupied by something far older than man? Before we analyze the physics of these magnetic voids, we must look at the human cost. Consider the case of a seasoned hunter in the Brooks Range, late 2019. He was a man who lived by the rifle and the compass. He knew the wind, he knew the predators. Yet, in his final radio transmission, one that was never officially released to the public, he wasn't screaming for help. He was whispering. He claimed that the forest around him had changed. He described the trees as bending toward him, as if the geography itself was closing in like a predatory jaw. He said he could see his own cabin just 50 yards away, but no matter how fast he ran, the distance stayed exactly the same. He was trapped in a treadmill of space and time. This is what survivors call the stretch. A distortion of reality that defies every map we've ever drawn. When search teams reached his last known coordinates, they found his rifle leaning against a cedar tree. It was fully loaded. His thermal gear was folded neatly on the frozen ground, but there were no footprints leading away. Just a circular patch of melted snow in a territory where the temperature hadn't risen above 0 in weeks. What happened to him wasn't a biological attack. It was a failure of the environment, as if the triangle had decided he no longer belonged in this dimension. It brings us to a chilling realization. In Alaska, you don't just get lost, you get deleted. Is it possible that the Alaska Triangle is a literal hole in the fabric of our planet? Researchers point to a phenomenon known as vile vortices. These are specific areas on Earth where the electromagnetic field is abnormally strong or dangerously weak. The most famous is the Bermuda Triangle. The Alaska Triangle sits on a direct planetary line with it. Pilots flying over the Yukon and the Susitna Valley have reported massive magnetic anomalies. Compasses don't just drift, they rotate 360 degrees. Electronic flight bags reboot without cause. Some believe these vortices create portal conditions, places where the veil between dimensions is thin. In the 1990s, a classified report suggested that there might be a dark pyramid buried deep underground in the Alaskan wilderness, south of Mount Denali. A structure larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza, emitting a frequency that disrupts human consciousness and navigation. While the Pentagon remains silent, the data doesn't lie. Thousands of people walk into these magnetic hotspots every year. They aren't lost because they can't find their way. They are lost because the way no longer exists. Every year, the list grows. In 2023 alone, hundreds of new names were added to the ledger of the vanished. The mountains of Alaska don't care about your technology. They don't care about your SOS beacons or your satellite phones. When you enter the triangle, you are making a silent pact with the unknown. You are stepping into a realm where the predator is unseen, The geography is fluid and the government is strangely indifferent. Why is there no official database for the vanished in our national parks? Why are search efforts called off just as things become unexplainable? Maybe because the truth is too much for the public to handle. Maybe because we aren't the masters of this land. We are merely guests, allowed to stay only as long as the triangle stays dormant. Next time you find yourself in the Great North, and the birds suddenly stop singing, if you see a figure in the distance that looks familiar but feels wrong, do not follow. Do not look back. Because in the Alaska Triangle, once you are gone, you are part of the legend. This is Vanish Point. Watch the shadows before they watch you.